You've heard the excuse 1,000 times. I don't have the resources. I don't have the funding. I don't have the connections. When I have more, I'll do more. Here's a man who destroys that excuse completely. He built one of the largest humanitarian networks on Earth, ran thousands of ambulances, saved millions of lives, and then went home to sleep on the floor. No mansion, no car, no bank account full of comfort. 2 shirts, 1 pair of sandals, and a mindset that made "I don't have enough" impossible to say out loud. This wasn't a monk from ancient scripture. This was a man who lived in our lifetime, and he proved beyond argument that resources don't build greatness. Mindset does. His name was Abdul Sattar Edhi. Ask most people what success looks like, and they'll describe a bank balance. Ask Edhi, and he'd point at a person who used to be suffering and now wasn't. While the world chased bigger houses and bigger portfolios, this one man spent 60 years building something money can't buy: hope, on a national scale. And here's the part that should stop you cold. He didn't start with capital. He didn't start with a team. He didn't start with a plan approved by anyone. He started with 2 coins and a decision. Edhi was born in 1928 in Bantva, a small town in Gujarat, India. His family wasn't wealthy. They lived simply, no safety net, no cushion. Every morning, his mother handed him 2 coins. One was his to keep. The other, she told him, belonged to whoever needed it more than he did. Stop and sit with that for a second. Most of us are taught to hoard the coin. Edhi was taught at 7 years old to give it away before he had anything to spare. That's the mindset most people never build, even with millions in the bank. The belief that generosity isn't something you do after you're secure. It's something you practice while you have almost nothing, because that's the only time it actually counts. Then life tested that lesson harder. While he was still a boy, his mother developed diabetes and was later partially paralyzed. For years, Edhi became her caregiver, feeding her, cleaning her, sitting with her through the pain. No business school teaches that kind of patience. No funding round buys that kind of compassion. He learned it in a small room, with no resources at all, taking care of the one person who needed him. That lesson would define the next 70 years of his life. Then history erased whatever little his family had. In 1947, British India split into India and Pakistan. Millions of families were forced to abandon their homes overnight. Edhi's family was one of them. They arrived in Karachi with nothing, no fortune, no connections, no guarantees of a single meal the next day. This is the moment where most life stories end the excuse-making, or begin it. Most people in that position spend everything they have just trying to rebuild their own life. That would have been reasonable. Nobody would have blamed him. Edhi did something else. He looked around the refugee camps and noticed people suffering more than he was. He had 0 resources, and he decided that didn't matter. That decision, not a donation, not a degree, not a connection, is the actual origin of everything he built. By the early 1950s, Edhi had scraped together just enough to rent a tiny storefront. With a local doctor's help, he opened a bare-bones dispensary. No fancy equipment, no wealthy backers, no government support. Some nights he slept outside the clinic on the pavement, so if someone needed help at 3 a.m., there'd be no delay. Then in 1957, a devastating flu epidemic tore through Karachi. Hospitals were overwhelmed. Thousands needed care immediately. Here's where the "I need more resources first" crowd gets proven wrong in real time. Edhi didn't wait for the government. He didn't wait for a grant. He grabbed whatever medicine he had, pulled together a handful of volunteers, and set up free medical camps across the city himself. He treated everyone. No questions, no bills, no discrimination. People didn't just notice, they showed up to help. 1 ambulance became 2, 2 became 10, 10 became hundreds. Decades later, that same instinct, act now, with what you have, had scaled into one of the largest volunteer ambulance networks on the planet. He never set out to break a record. He just believed every human life deserved a chance, and every ambulance on the road was one more chance somebody would get. Notice what's missing from this chapter. A business plan, a pitch deck, a board of directors. Just a man behind a wheel who refused to wait for permission. The ambulances were only the beginning. The foundation went on to open maternity homes, orphanages, blood banks, homeless shelters, rehabilitation centers, mental health facilities, free clinics, disaster relief units, even animal rescue services. Earthquakes, floods, wars, refugee crises. Wherever disaster struck, Edhi's volunteers showed up not for headlines, not for recognition, just because people needed help. One of the foundation's most quietly radical ideas, small cradles placed outside its centers with a simple message. Don't kill your baby, leave the child with us. No shame, no judgment, just a door left open. Thousands of children who might have been abandoned were given a chance at life, because one man who once had nothing decided nothing was still enough to start with. This is what mindset compounds into. Not a single act of kindness, but an entire ecosystem of it, built one decision at a time, by someone who never used, "I don't have enough" as a reason to wait. By now, Edhi was running one of the largest charitable organizations in the world. He could have built himself a mansion, bought a fleet of cars, lived the way most people assume success is supposed to look. Instead, he chose to own almost nothing. A couple changes of simple clothing, a pair of sandals, a floor to sleep on, basic meals, the same food the people he served might eat. His own family recalled how uncomfortable he became whenever money was spent on comfort instead of need. Once, after chairs were purchased for guests at a foundation event, Edhi questioned out loud whether that money should have gone to someone who actually needed it. That wasn't a performance for cameras. That was a mindset so consistent it never needed an audience. He believed every wasted dollar was a meal, a medicine, or an ambulance ride someone else didn't get. He didn't live simply to look humble. He lived simply because his mindset never confused having more with being more. Eventually, the world noticed what one man with almost nothing had built. Governments honored him, universities recognized him, international organizations praised his work. His ambulance network earned global recognition as one of the largest of its kind. People started calling him one of the greatest humanitarians of the modern era. None of it changed him. The awards didn't buy him a bigger house. The applause didn't buy him a better mattress. Helping people was the goal before the world was watching, and it stayed the goal after. That's the tell. Anyone can act generous once resources and recognition show up. Edhi had already been living this mindset for decades before either one arrived. In July 2016, Abdul Sattar Edhi passed away after battling kidney disease. The news spread across Pakistan, then across the world. Millions mourned a man most of them had never met, because his impact had reached lives he never personally knew. His foundation didn't stop with him. The ambulances kept moving, the shelters stayed open, the cradles stayed out front, the clinics kept treating patients. One person's mindset had become a self-sustaining movement, built on almost no resources, and outliving the man who started it. So the next time someone tells you they can't start, not yet, not without more money, more time, more connections, think about a boy with 2 coins. Think about a man who arrived in a new country with nothing and decided that was still enough. Think about someone who ran. That's the order it actually works in, not the other way around. Years from now, nobody will remember what you owned. They'll remember what you gave when you had every excuse not to. That's the legacy Abdul Sattar Edhi left behind, proof that one ordinary person, with an extraordinary mindset, can outbuild people with 100 times the resources. If this story just wrecked your excuses a little, good, don't let it end here. Share this with someone who says they'll start when they have more. Comment below, mindset first, resources follow. Subscribe if you want more true stories of ordinary people who refuse to wait for permission to do something extraordinary. Because the biggest heroes were rarely the best funded ones. They were just the ones who started anyway.